People react fast when something feels unfair. And as soon as it happens, the brain starts creating stories that seem right, even when they're not. And as reselling continues to grow, so do the stories and misconceptions online. One of the biggest misconceptions is that thrift stores were created only for poor families, and resellers like myself are out here taking things away from people who need the help the most. Before I get started, I have to say, this video wasn't even on my calendar, but I made it special for the thrift and poverty expert you see on screen and people who think just like him. And this is actually only part of the comment because, of course, they deleted it after the fact, and I had only screenshot my hilarious reply. First off, thank you for taking the time to insult me, but being the kind and positive person that I am, I'll educate you using logic, reason, facts, and history, and all done in a nice way because there's no need for insults. And if you do insult someone, stand behind your words and don't delete them. Be proud of what you believe in and who you are. This person left a long comment saying resellers steal from poor people, thrift stores exist only for struggling families, resellers raise prices, and then he finished it off by saying TLDR, you suck, and replied again after that with more nasty remarks, and that's okay. They took the time to say it loud and proud, but loud and proud doesn't mean true. So today we're breaking down what thrift stores were actually created for, using Goodwill as an example since everyone knows the name. We're also taking a look at thrift stores in general, how they started, what donation psychology really shows, and why resellers aren't the ones causing the problems people keep blaming us for. So let's get to it. When someone walks into a thrift store and sees a price that feels kind of wrong because it's too high, their mind starts filling in the blanks real quick before they even think it through. People try to figure out, well, what changed? They see shelves that look picked over and prices that don't match what they remember, and the brain immediately starts searching for a simple explanation. And resellers like myself stand out like a sore thumb because we show our flips, our profits, and our badass finds. We're out here, we're visible, so people say it has to be them.
Yeah, because nothing says corporate strategy like me buying an old coffee pot.
You got to give it to them though. It's a decent guess, but completely incorrect. Most people want the world to feel fair. They want causes to be simple and they want villains to be obvious. And when someone remembers paying $2 and now sees a shirt for $9.99, the reaction turns emotional. Not logic or reason, not facts or history, just feelings trying to explain things. Let me give you a few reasons why people believe this myth. People remember dollar shirts, racks that felt like nobody had touched them, and the thrill of finding cool treasures without much competition. But over time, prices went up, overhead went up, and thrift stores had to operate differently. Social media also makes it look like resellers are everywhere. You see us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and a whole bunch of other places. You see hauls from the bins, Goodwill finds, bulk buys, and big flips. So the average viewer thinks every thrift store is packed with resellers all day, when really they're seeing maybe 20 people online and acting like that means 20,000 are in their store. And when the economy gets rough or the cost of living goes up, the brain wants someone to blame. Psychologists call this blame bias. It's when stress makes the mind grab onto the first target it sees, even if that target has nothing to do with the problem. That's how comments like this one happen. Not from truth, but from frustration and guessing. And that's okay. It's understandable. We can still look at this in a positive light, but we do need to correct it because the truth matters. First off, this misunderstanding doesn't just spread online. It creates a divide between shoppers and resellers, separates communities, and distracts everyone from what's happening inside the thrift stores themselves. People start fighting with each other instead of asking, how do these stores actually work? Where does the money go? What does the business model look like now compared to 20 years ago? Questions like these are reasonable to ask, and they need to be answered truthfully, because when people aim at the wrong cause, nothing gets better. The arguments keep going in circles, and the real issues get covered up by opinions that don't hold up the moment you look at the history. So now let's get into what thrift stores were actually created to do by looking at one of the most recognized names out there, Goodwill. The story starts in early 1900s with a man named Reverend Edgar J. Helms, the founder of Goodwill. He lived in Boston and saw people in his community struggling. So as a God-fearing Christian man, he wanted to help, But he didn't want a system built on handouts that left people just feeling dependent. So he came up with a new idea. He picked up used goods from ritzy neighborhoods, brought them back to his church, hired people who needed jobs, and had them repair those items. Then he sold the goods to raise money for job training and community support. This is the key point everyone suddenly forgets. Goodwill didn't start as a discount store for poor families. It started as a way to generate the money needed to support job programs. The store was just a tool. The mission was employment and community support, and the Salvation Army, mind you, followed soon after. They created stores to help fund addiction recovery centers, shelters, food programs, and disaster relief operations. Those services cost money, which meant that stores needed to bring in revenue. Nothing in this world is free. And they knew low prices would help move inventory, but selling just to sell wasn't the point. Raising money for all those programs was the mission. So the idea that thrift stores were made only for poor families is wrong, and history proves otherwise. It's something people assume later because the stores were and still are very affordable, but the idea doesn't fit the original purpose. Another part people forget is that thrift stores never restricted who could shop. Anyone could walk in. There were no income checks. No one stopped you based on what you earned. That was never part of the model. More shoppers meant more revenue, of course. More revenue meant more support for the programs those stores funded. So when people hate on the resellers and say they don't belong in thrift stores, they are just showing how little they understand about how the system was built. The stores were designed to welcome everybody, whether you were a collector, saving money, raising a family, or hunting for vintage. The doors have always been open to all, and not by accident, but by strategy. Thrift stores have always been businesses with real expenses just like any other store. They pay for buildings, trucks, fuel, insurance, staff, sorting centers, and distribution hubs. Even though the items are donated, the cost of running the operation isn't free. Nothing is ever free. When expenses rise, prices rise, and that's true for every single industry. This has been happening for decades, but people just didn't notice it back when everything was way cheaper. Now, if you add inflation, payroll increases, rent increases, and new tech being used to price items, and all of that makes a bigger impact than any of us resellers ever could. It's simple economics. Resellers don't have the power to move prices all over the country, even with how big reselling has become. And this is where people get confused. Look, I'm not defending high thrift store prices, and I'm not pretending that stores aren't greedy at times or doing everything right. What I am saying is that we have to look at what's actually happening. Thrift stores are still run by humans, and humans don't stop being human just because they work for a nonprofit. We live in a capitalist society, and that's not a bad thing, as I've stated before. It's what lets people donate, shop, and build their own businesses, but it also means that stores try to make more money when they can. That has something to do with it, but it's not the thing pushing all of these changes. Some of this is profit, yes, but most of it comes down to the increasing cost of operations. Now let's move on to donation psychology, because this is another thing people get way wrong. People donate because it makes them feel good. It triggers something called helper's high, which is a real good feeling your brain creates when you help someone. Donating things feels like you're helping something bigger than yourself, and that's a good thing more people should do. But people donate to support the charity's mission, not to control who buys the item later. Once someone donates something, they just let it go. They don't think, I hope this only goes to poor families. They think, I hope this helps. They trust the mission. And here's something else that most people don't realize. Only a small portion of all donated items ever make it to the sales floor. Typically, thrift stores get more donations that they can freaking handle. A large amount gets recycled, baled, exported, or sold in bulk to keep things just kind of moving. A whole bunch of items also get tossed for damage, smell, or lack of space, and resellers pick up the ones that were close to being thrown out. Tell me how that's wrong. We keep waste down and give those items a second life.
So basically, we're the recycling program that no one talks about.
Exactly. When resellers buy from thrift stores, the money goes back into the programs the stores run, no matter what store. Every hat, jacket, backpack, or piece of furniture that a reseller buys helps fund job training, food programs, shelters, and other community services, which I'm 100% behind. Resellers keep the inventory moving, help stores hit their revenue goals, and clear space for more donations. Most people understand that helping others is everyone's responsibility. The real problem isn't the reseller. The real problem is that people don't understand how these stores operate behind the scenes because for most people, ignorance really is bliss.
Yup, but blaming strangers in the aisle is way easier than educating yourself.
Ain't that the sad truth? Now that you understand what's really going on, here's how you stay ahead as a reseller in a changing market. I figured since you're already here learning about thrift stores and all the misconceptions around them, I want you to leave with something that actually helps your business too. First, diversify where you source. Don't rely only on thrift stores. Use Marketplace, Craigslist, OfferUp, estate sales, yard sales, storage units, and local buyouts. The more places you pull inventory from, the smoother your business will run. Next, build simple systems. Batch your photos, batch your listings, and set up a process that saves time. Consistency is what actually grows the business. Then build a good brand. Your photos, your descriptions, and how you talk to customers says more about you than anything with a name brand on it. Also, know your numbers. Track your average sale price, your categories, and your profit. Once you know what you're actually making, you stop wasting time on the wrong items. And finally, stay flexible. Thrift stores will change and inventory and prices will change too, but you can stay ahead by adjusting quicker than the stores do. Look, thrift stores weren't created only for poor families. Let's get that straight. Generally speaking, they were built to raise money for charity programs, help communities, and support job training for people who needed a way forward. That was the mission from the start, and that mission hasn't changed. Resellers don't hurt that mission at all. We help support it every time we buy something, reuse something, or keep something out of the dump. We're part of the system, not the enemy. The earlier comment wasn't even unique, but it was definitely wrong. Especially now that I'm on YouTube, I get people talking shit in the comments all the time, and it doesn't get me angry, but it does push me to correct them. Look, having an opinion is okay, but when you're wrong, you're wrong. As a society, we have strayed so far from objective truth that it's hard to know which way is up. Now it's all about my truth, your truth, everyone's truth, and that's just wrong. There's only truth. Now that you know what's actually going on, you don't have to deal with the finger pointing. Stay focused and grow your business while everyone else argues about the things they don't understand. Things are going to keep changing, but you can always respond faster. And the sellers who adapt will be the ones still standing long after everyone else finds something new to complain about. And that's it, everybody. To continue supporting the channel, you can always send your thanks with the thanks button down below. You can buy the Resellupe to add value to the photos you're already taking. Better photos means better sales, plain and simple. And you can become a member of the Resellutions Posse for less than gas station coffee and get access to videos that no one else has access to. And right now, if you join as a top tier 40 cal member, you get access to him, Bruce. He's my AI lister that is super fast. He writes great titles, great descriptions, and great listings overall. As always, give this video a like, share this with anyone that needs to see it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you don't miss awesome videos like this. See you in the next one. Peace and cheers, everybody. Woohoo! Look, I get stuff like this all the time, and I really do try to stay positive. But when people are wrong, they need to be told that they're wrong, because if not, nothing will ever change. They'll just go through life thinking that that was okay to do that, to say that, to insult someone, even when they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. So this is me telling them.